Professor Dave again. Let's look at the sequence of tenses.
He knows a lot about all kinds of stuff. Professor Dave explains.
We have learned a lot about the subjunctive mood and when to use it in both the present tense and the past tense. So now we need to learn about the sequence of tenses, or Concordanza dei Tempi. We already know that the chronology of an event is established by the tense being used in the main clause. Now we are going to study the variation of tenses in a subordinate clause. This means we are going to examine the correlation between an action described in the dependent clause and the verb of the main clause. In general, we could find three different possibilities. First, we might find that the two actions are happening at the same time. This is called contemporaneity of action. This would be something like, I believe they are here. You are currently believing, and if you are correct, they are currently here. Next, we could find that the action in the subordinate clause has happened before the main clause. This is called priority or anteriority of action. This would be something like, I believe they were here. You are currently believing, and if you are correct, they were here before this moment that you are believing. And lastly, we might find that the action in the subordinate clause happens later than the action in the main clause. This is called posteriority of action. This would be something like, I believe they will be here. But we can lose this one because the subjunctive mood does not have a future tense, so we will just focus on contemporaneity and priority. However, we do have to worry about the tense in the main clause. This tense will trigger our choice of tenses in the subjunctive. Let's understand that there are primary tenses, which are the present, future, and imperative. And there are also secondary or historical tenses, which are the imperfect, passato prossimo, trapassato prossimo, passato remoto, condizionale presente, and condizionale passato. Let's see how this works with each tense. First, with the primary tenses. Presente, insisto che. Futuro, insisterò che. Imperativo, insisti che. Now for the secondary tenses. Imperfetto, insistevo che. Passato prossimo, ho insistito che. Trapassato prossimo, avevo insistito che. Passato remoto, insistei che. Condizionale presente, insisterei che. Condizionale passato, avrei insistito che. Being able to identify tenses as being primary or secondary will be very important because this will affect the subordinate clause. When the main clause uses a primary tense, only present and past subjunctive can be used for the dependent clause. When the main clause uses a secondary tense, only imperfect and pluperfect subjunctive can be used. I know that sounds complicated, but as with everything else, let's just go through some examples and things will make more sense. First, looking at contemporaneous action with a main clause that uses a primary tense. Remember, this means we can have a dependent clause with the present subjunctive. Credo che loro abbiano paura. Credo che loro siano felici. Credo che loro comprino una casa. Credo che loro vadano alla festa. Now let's rewrite these same sentences using the past subjunctive. Credo che loro abbiano avuto paura. Credo che loro siano stati felici. Credo che loro abbiano comprato una casa. Credo che loro siano andati alla festa. Now let's look at contemporaneous action with a main clause that uses a secondary tense. This will allow us to use the imperfect subjunctive, so let's use the imperfect here. Credevo che loro avessero paura. Credevo che loro fossero felici. Credevo che loro comprassero una casa. Credevo che loro andassero alla festa. Lastly, let's move away from contemporaneity and look at priority, or anteriority. Remember, this is where the action in the dependent clause happens before the action in the main clause. Here, there are many possibilities for the tense in the main clause, so let's just use imperfect here. Credevo che loro avessero avuto paura. Credevo che loro fossero stati felici. Credevo che loro avessero comprato una casa. Credevo che loro fossero andati a una festa. And that's it for the dreaded series of tenses. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Support me on Patreon so I can keep making content. And as always, feel free to email me, ProfessorDaveExplains@gmail.com.